Hello mate, and welcome to another exciting Let's Code 5.0 video. In this video what we're going to do is we're going to put together our leaderboard so that we can reutilize the same code over and over again for all of our mini games. And luckily for us, we actually already have some template files that we can use to give us the basics of our leaderboard screen, because we already have a load save screen which comes up when you right click on any part of the game. And what we can see here is that we have our screen name, and then we have what's called a tag, and in this case we've got tagged menu. And what we can do is we can actually add that to our screen, and then it will tell Ren'Py that this is actually a menu screen, although technically that is not the case. But the reason we add tag menu to this is that what it does is, if we're showing this screen, any other screens which have the tag menu will be forced to close. So you can only have one menu open at any given time. And we're just going to add that to our main menu so that we can actually view the leaderboards. And what I might do is have the leaderboard set out in maybe a 3x2 grid, if we have 6 mini games that is, and then it will just show the top 10 scores for each game. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new file, and we're going to do that by creating a new file inside our screens folder, and we'll just call it leaderboard.rpy, and then we can start off by declaring our screen leaderboard like that, like so. Okay, we're also going to need some variables, and whilst there are really efficient ways that we can do this using dictionaries and using classes, I think what we're probably just going to do is use lists, because that is the simplest way of doing it, to be quite honest. So what we can do is, above our screen we can just go init, and we'll give this one init 10 Python. In fact, we don't even have to do an init block, we can just do this with a default leaderboard. And then we'll go for coin toss equals, and then we're just going to have an empty list right now, and then we can populate it afterwards if we want to. So we need to create some things that are going to show our list on the screen. The first thing we need to do is create a frame, and then inside that frame we're going to put 2 V boxes. So in order to do that, we want to put an H box first. And we can even say has HBox, because we don't need to put any, there's no properties that are going to go in this HBox. We're simply going to have 2 V boxes. So now we can say VBox, and then we're going to cycle through our list elements and quite simply pop the names and the scores in them. So at the top of this VBox, we obviously need to put a name, and we can then go back, create another VBox, and in that one we're going to put score like that. Now, as well as that, what I'd like to do is create a title at the top of the screen which just says leaderboards or something like that. So I think what I might do is create another frame. This one's going to be in the middle, and the Y line will be at the top as well. So we can actually just change that, rather than having 2 commands, we can just change that to a line, 0.5, 0.0, close that off, get rid of that one, there we go. So our title is going to be in there, and then inside that frame we're going to add some text, and we'll just say leaderboards. In fact, let's just give that a 1 word like that. And I think I'm going to have no background on that frame, just because I just want the text to appear there, and we can actually change the size. Let's just make that to size 50 or something like that, nice and big. Okay, so our first frame, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in a little bit of annotation there, just so I know which one this is. And in the frame we're going to put in more text, and we also have to nudge all of this stuff right by 1. text with a small t, and then we just say coin toss. And we can put that as X align 0.5 size, and we'll just give this a size of say like 24 or something along those lines, like that. Okay, so we also need to put a tag menu in there, and that is the basics. We can actually add this to our main menu now, so we can move across to our navigation there, and we can go with a copy of that and paste that, and we can actually go with leaderboards. And we don't actually, it doesn't matter if we have that in all of our, what have I done? There we go. And that's cool. So we save that for now. And then in order to call our screen, we have to type in our action is going to be show menu. And then we can copy the name of our menu into there, making sure that we put it inside speech marks. And then that will put our, it'll basically show our leaderboard screen. So now we need to decide where we're going to put this frame and what size it's going to be so that we can actually format it. Now 1920 divided by 3 is what, 600, something like that. We don't want it to be 600, but we could say it's going to be 400, and then let's say 540 minus, let's just say that this one's going to be 480 perhaps. That give us about there, and then we can say X, actually need to change that as XY size, and then we can say position of this one is going to be 200 in and 40 down, and save that. Okay, so we should be able to run that and check that that all appears, but I think I'm going to change this has HBox statement, just give it HBox like that, just makes things less confusing for people who are not used to it, and then we can just indent it like that. So let's just quickly check to make sure we haven't got any typos. Oh yeah, there's one there. I haven't got a comma in between those. Make sure we put that one in there. Okay, and then when we run it, we can see our frame around the that looks about the right size in terms of the size of the frame. Our title looks good, although it's going to get in the way, so we need to probably nudge this down another 30 or so pixels. And then we've also got the situation with our text there is appearing in line with our HBoxes. So right, what we've got to do, we've got a number of things we have to do. The first thing we want to do is change our position from 40 down to, let's make that 70. And then we need to put all of this inside a VBox. And then that will prevent our coin toss title from clashing with everything else. I'm going to change that so that it's lowercase or sorry, titleified rather than all uppercase. And now we need to set some sizes here so that we end up with some kind of formatting. So let's go with this VBox. Now we're only going to allow the character to, or the player to put in a maximum of, let's say, 10 characters. So realistically, in fact, we won't use X maximum, we'll use X size just to make sure that it grows to that size all the time. And we're going to give it a size of, let's say our total size is 400. So let's say our size of this one will be 150. And the size of this will be 250. Now we're going to want to put some padding in our frame, or rather remove the padding from the X direction. And we'll see how that looks, and if we need to change it, we'll change it. Okay, so now we can see how it looks. I'm feeling like maybe we don't actually need to put the name and score titles there when we actually have information to put into them. purely because it'll be fairly obvious it's a leaderboard. So we'll just have name and score in there. But for the purposes of us being able to see where the columns actually are. Now, I'm not liking this 0 padding on the left, so I might add some padding on the left and right and the top. But we can actually control it. So I'm actually going to minimize that. Now we can change our padding. I'm going to go with 10, 20, 10, 20. And then we can bring back up our... And if I hold down Shift R, it will reload it. And then it will apply the formatting. And as you can see, now we've got padding. Actually got 20 padding there. And I'm not sure 20 is right. I feel like 20 might be too much. I think maybe if I put 10 there, it'll be plenty. So yeah, I'm going to go with 10 from the... on all sides. Like that. And that's good. Okay, so once we've actually got scores to put in, we will remove these titles, because as I said, I feel like it's a bit of a moot point having them there once we've actually got our scores. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in some defaults scores here so that we've actually got something to work with. So what we'll do is we will add a bunch of tuples like that. Let's copy that and then we can return. In fact, we don't think we really need to right now. We'll just 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we can add some score. So let's just say something crazy like 1,000 is going to be our Uber flipper. There we go. And then we'll say the next score was 750. Mega. Now, let's count how many characters we've got here just so we don't get a conflict. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've actually got too many characters there. So I'm just going to change that to... There we go. $750 can be Toss King. No laughing in the back there, please. Let's just go for a 500. I don't know. Other puns that we can think of to do with coin tossing. No, that's not how you spell spinner, is it? Good Lord, spinner. And then we'll go with 200. That sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? And you don't have to sit through this. You can always skip through to the point where I've actually added all of the values, but I'm just sort of populating them so that we've actually got something to work with in our leaderboard. Miss spin, and then we'll go with 50. We actually have to put... It's quite important when you do leaderboards like this that you put some scores that are actually beatable reasonably easy so that players sort of want to get on the leaderboard rather than just making them all unbeatable. I mean, 1,000 coin toss wins in a row. I don't even want to think about the odds of that. It would be crazy. It would be, 2 times... It would be 2 to the power of 1,000 is quite a lot. So 50. And I'm just going to put literally random words in at this point. So we'll go with 20. And then last but not least, we will go with 5. 5 in a row. Cool. Okay, so now we've got some scores that we can actually populate in our leaderboard. So we can, basically, that's all we need. So what we can do is we can actually cycle through our lists, and we can pull out the first element for the first VBox and a second element for the second VBox. So we'll just simply say for score in, and then we'll just copy that variable like so. And then all we have to do is inside our VBox, we're just going to go with the text basically. So we can say we're actually going to put the names first. So we will put in score, and then we're going to put in element 1, which is the second element, because if you remember that 0 is the first element. So there we go. And then in the second VBox, we'll go for score in leaderboard coin toss, and then we'll put text score 0. Now, it is important to note at this point that if you are putting anything else funky or different fonts inside either of these VBoxes, if you apply different formatting to these two pieces of text, then they may not line up horizontally, in which case you may have to lay out your VBox slightly differently. For example, you could put an H-box in there, which shows, in fact, we could just do that, couldn't we? We could change this VBox into another H-box, which contains both elements, and then we can just set the whole thing to have a size. All right, let's do that just to make it easy for us to change our text. So what we actually need to do is, for every element, we're going to create a H-box like so, and we want our H-box to be a size of 400. In fact, we can do that here. We'll just go X size 400, like so. No, actually, I go back and forth on this. I think it would be more intelligent to put it inside the H-box. Okay, now we don't have to go for that. We can just go text score there, and then we can remove all of this bump here. Cool, so that's a little bit more simpler formatting. And what I'm going to do is put on this one, so line 0, 0 or 0.0, and then there. And then that should now show all of our scores on our leaderboard. But I think what we need to do is actually we need to turn this into a string. Otherwise it's going to throw a hissy fit, which we don't really want. Okay, so now we've got that showing, and we're a little bit over on our size, so we need to drop that down ever so slightly. So we can do that straight away, not a problem at all. I'm just going to reduce the size of our H-box by, let's say, 20 pixels. So we'll go for 380, like that. And then we can just do a Shift R in here. There we go. And now we can see that our text is nicely formatted, and it's showing all of our scores. So as far as displaying our leaderboard goes, we are good, which is probably going to be enough for this video. In the next episode, what we'll talk about is how we can add new scores to our list and how to put them in order, because obviously if we get a score that's higher than one of these, we need to insert it into the position where it actually goes. And what I'm also going to do now is I'm going to actually change the formatting ever so slightly just to move these scores down a bit, so that we are seeing not quite such a big gap at the bottom, and there's a bit more space at the top. And I also want to change the size of this font. So let's do that before we knock it on the head today. So let's just drop that down. So size 24 is not good enough for what I want. Let's just change that to 30. And we're going to change the size of these, and we'll change those down to, these can be size 24. And I think we need to put in a new line there, just to make life super easy. That's probably the easiest way of doing it. Okay, so we seem to have increased the space at the bottom by making this font smaller. So we can actually change the size of this box so that it actually looks better. I think I need to shave about 50 pixels off the bottom of that. So let's have a look. X size 480. Let's just change this down to 430. See how that looks. Put up our screen again. That's better. But I think we can actually just go down to 400, a 400 by 400 square even perhaps. That might work. That looks better. That looks much better. And then you can adjust those sizes as much as you want to. You can change the font. Obviously that's going to increase or decrease the amount of clipping that you might have. So you can adjust those values as much as you want depending on what kind of look you're going for. But for a basic leaderboard, this will definitely be fine. And we can even change the background of this to make it look slightly different if you want to as well. But either way, thanks ever so much for watching that, guys. I hope you found it useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. But until then, you take damn good care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.